Live from a studio somewhere inside the simulation, it's VR News Now.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of day you are watching this video. Welcome to VR News Now, the #1 destination for all things VR news. And today, Survios is breaking VR gamers' hearts again. nDreams is betting big on a brand new grand scale adventure. But first, in our lead story, the huge announcement that Deadpool VR is coming courtesy of seemingly hibernating Meta-owned studio Twisted Pixels, as they have unveiled a brand new made-for-VR title surrounding the aforementioned anti-hero entitled Deadpool VR, with the shock being that this version will not feature the voice stylings of Ryan Reynolds, but instead the role will be handled by Hollywood mainstay Neil Patrick Harris in a move that looks to further bolster the Quest library, as this is a Quest 3 and 3S exclusive experience set to launch late this year. And this of course represents the first offering by Twisted Pixels of Wilson's Heart fame since being acquired by the Menlo Park-based mega conglomerate back in 2022. And while there isn't too much information surrounding this one floating around at the moment, we are being told that Twisted Pixels spent years capturing Deadpool's unique blend of parkour and combat, building the beat-em-up bona fides it established in Path of the Warrior, which is another beat-em-up title previously developed by the studio, of which currently sports a 4.3 rating on the Meta Store. But as any new developments unfold surrounding Deadpool VR, trust and believe we here at VR News Now will be locked in, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with any new Deadpool VR news. Now, our next story sees a major announcement presented by an industry legend, as the debut game of the recently formed nDreams Elevation, Reach, has officially been announced. As VR enthusiast and former Sony Interactive president Shuhei Yoshida took the stage at the Future Game Show Summer Showcase to debut the announcement trailer for what is being described as a cinematic action-adventure title that, quote, aims for high agency, cinematic scale, and tactile full-body immersion, where gamers will play as a reluctant hero, a dangerous journey with deeply tactile interactions that sees you uncovering the secrets of an underground civilization in what is said to be nDreams' most ambitious title yet. Now, nDreams, of course, is a veteran VR studio with over a decade's worth of experience in the space, and they're responsible for games like Frenzies, Vendetta Forever, Little Cities, and of course Synapse, so there is a bit of a track record of high quality games coming out of the UK-based studio. And if Glenn Brace, the head of studio over at nDreams Elevation, is to be believed, then Reach will be an action-adventure game where players feel present, powerful, and fully in control of every action. And unlike Deadpool VR, this one will be touching down on all major platforms later this year. But now folks, you already know what time it is as we turn to quick hits and VR News Now's Employee of the Month. Here's Mike Big Boogie Wallace. Take us away. Thanks, Golden. So what's up, all my players and playettes out there? We got a pretty groovy edition of Quick Hits for y'all today. As kicking things off is the recent rumblings coming courtesy of Meta surrounding its purported shift away from work on the assumed to be Quest 4 in favor of a headset codenamed Loma that is said to feature a design similar to a pair of eyeglasses that connects to a pocketable computer puck, which is described as more powerful than its Quest 3 series of headsets, baby. And this news comes from the guys over at Wall Street Journal, who say that this headset is alleged to be touching down sometime in 2026 and is allegedly supposed to be less than $1,000. Talk about righteous value, baby. But now let's shift the mood just a little bit and talk about something a little bit more somber here, as VR outlet Mix has made the unfortunate decision to shut it down its operations due to, quote, Google's search algorithm seemingly downgrading their English site, causing traffic to plummet by an estimated 90%. As VR veteran journalist Tomislav Bezmalinovic penned a very emotional and touching farewell to the fans of the outlet, in which a core update to Google's search engine ultimately proved to be unsustainable for the company to counteract. But let Big Boog be the first to tell you that while this is a huge, and I know huge, blow to VR journalism, you can still see the work of Tomislav and Joseph at the European-based Heist Online, where they will still be covering XR-related things daily. But for a bit of palate cleanser, baby, after that last hit, we have recently gotten the news that the fan-beloved Thief franchise is sneaking its way into VR with Thief VR Legacy of Shadows hitting all VR platforms this year. And in this one, players take on the role of Magpie, a cunning thief orphaned by Norcrest brutality and shaped by the streets, who steals is the only mean to survive. Ain't that right, girl? Now, that is until you uncover something greater, a legendary artifact holding a legacy from the past. And if the studio can live up to the promises of blending classic stealth gameplay with next-gen immersion, then best believe Big Body Boogie will be sneaking all around Northcrest. So be sure that you are subscribed to stay up to date on all your Thief VR news. This has been Mike Big Boogie Wallace, VR News Now. And now for our last story of the day, we turn to a tale that is certainly disheartening for many VR fans out there, as we have recently gotten the news that Survios, the studio behind Alien Rogue Incursion, of course, is no longer providing any updates for its VR iteration, in favor of focusing instead on the flat screen versions of this Alien thriller due out in September for both PS5 and PC players. And this is particularly disappointing for Quest goers who were treated to an abomination of a launch by the studio. And while there have been 3 major patches for the Quest version, many gamers are still very unhappy with the studio. And as you may remember, Survios came under fire ahead of this one's pcvr and PSVR 2 launches in December of last year for the lack of transparency with regards to this one not representing a complete story, and for changing the description of this one to read as a part 1 just days ahead of its launch. And furthermore, this decision has some in the VR community clamoring for refunds or permanent price drops on the Quest 3 version of this one, with Upload VR confirming that at least one refund in the form of Metacash has already been accepted. And as fans speculate over what this could potentially mean for the promised part 2 of this one, it must be noted that a Survios representative disclosed on a phone call that work on Incursion 2 will continue and that a longer statement would be given soon. But only time will tell whether or not they actually hold true to this, as this is another blemish on Survios, who's had a very up and down release with regards to Alien Rogue Incursion. But that's all the news that we have for you guys today. As always, I really do appreciate you all for joining. And as always, I am your host, Too Damn Golden, VR News Now.